to 8.
And its morning report, well, the National Party says as many as 570,000 businesses will be caught up by a capital gains tax if that goes ahead. It's been saying that small businesses make up 97% of the business sector, but the government is ignoring the damage that they would suffer. A capital gains tax on businesses, farms and second homes or investment properties was among the recommendations by the tax working group headed by Sir Michael Cullen. The government's response to the tax working group report is expected sometime this month. Well, joining me now in the Auckland studio is the leader of the opposition, Simon Bridges. Tēnā koe, good morning to you.
Kia ora.
The capital gains tax as it applies to businesses, I saw your statement. Basically what you've done here is just count up the number of small businesses in New Zealand.
Well, I think there's an important point there. 570,000 businesses, as you say, 97% of our businesses, a third of employees, a quarter of GDP. The tax working group, and indeed the Prime Minister, would give the impression here that a capital gains tax really just applies to this other group, this very small group of the very wealthy. My point is that it's not true, and it's everywhere, whether it's 56,000 agri-businesses and ICT businesses in Waikato, whether it's 26, I think, or 29,000 in Otago. And then the other point that's very important about it, it's political, I think it's also economic, is that we know from an NYOB survey last week, 67% of these 570,000 odd businesses, they dislike this. They understand that it will deter them doing more, or in some cases starting up.
But let's just hang on here. It's not like they would be paying this tax every year. They would pay this tax if and only if they sold their business.
Correct, but I suppose if you take the position that in the long run they will, or someone will do that, inevitably they'll face...
once in their life. For that business, once in the lifetime of that business, it may be sold.
I don't think you can't say, though. In fact, the government, if they're going to do this, they'd have to make this case, in a sense, to make it worth doing, that it doesn't have an effect. And my point really is, on those small businesses, the risk of this hanging over them has a very palpable effect on their decision to get up and going, to get out of bed every morning, to work weekends, to reinvest in more plant and so on, to make themselves more productive. There's massive compliance costs. And finally, I just say, well, is it any wonder at the moment, when you've got this out there, that the economy is weakening and business confidence is again plummeting?
Do you really think that is the reason why economies are slowing right around the world?
Oh, absolutely. Look, this is the point.
Well, hang on. You really think that it's the prospect that you might have to pay tax once in your life on the sale of a business that is leading to a slowdown in the New Zealand economy? Well, that it's more that than China-US trade tensions or the inverted yield curve or any
Let's deal with that,
because
that's the Prime Minister's position, right? This is all international, what is happening in New Zealand. But if you go and look at the Aussie budget and the Treasury there's position on the global economy. Actually, if you look at as recently as this month, what our Treasury is saying, they are saying around the world, yep, there's risks out there, but we're talking 3 to 4% growth globally. And in terms of our major trading partners, both in Australia and New Zealand, you're looking at more like 3.5% and 4%.
Isn't it true that New Zealand economy is growing faster than Australia's, though?
Yeah, absolutely. My simple point is...
So doesn't your simple point just get demolished right there?
No, not at all. My point is just simply this. Yep, there's headwinds coming internationally, but right now it would be foolhardy to deny that lack in business sentiment that the Reserve Bank is picking up on, that all of the banking surveys are picking up on, isn't fueled by a real sense of lack of certainty and lack of confidence in the economy from capital gains tax, industrial law changes, these various policies that the government is in some cases applying or in some cases isn't sure what it's doing.
Well, that's probably the point, isn't it? I mean, do you think they're really going to do this? Do you think they're going to put a capital gains tax on business?
Here's my problem, Guyon. I don't know, and someone has to stand up on this and work on the basis that they are stupid enough to do all the things that are in that report. I can't be complacent about that. What I also know is, even if they dial it back, it still seems to me that Labour and the Greens at least believe in this. The Greens have said they don't deserve to be the government if they don't do this. And the Labour Party, we know for now some 10 years, has campaigned on doing this. So my view is even if they pull back, it will be a Trojan horse for things to come.
Okay, let's spend a couple of minutes just to finish this on Christchurch and the aftermath of that and how it's affected politics. Has it changed politics for you?
Yes, in as much as I think it gives us all pause for thought, to be reflective, to be responsible in how we do things. I'm certainly not suggesting to you I wasn't before, but I think it does and has and should affect the tone. I think what is also true, though, is for many New Zealanders now, what are we, 3-4 weeks on, they will not forget. They expect to see some significant changes, and the gun laws is an incredibly important, probably the most important example of that. But they also, and that's why today we talk capital gains tax, expect to see the government and the opposition focus on their everyday bread and butter
So you're
concerns.
getting back to business as usual as such?
I think we, in a sense, can chew gum and walk at the same time. We have to do both. But there's no doubt, if you look at Parliament last week, the Prime Minister going to China, me focusing on economic matters, we do have to do that. That doesn't mean we forget Christchurch or we don't learn lessons from it.
You ran into some issues with the submission on the UN Migration Compact. You guys didn't tell the truth, did you, about how that was taken down from your site?
Well, we got it wrong.
What does that mean?
It simply means that I believed one thing, and that didn't in the end turn out to be the factual
So this
position.
was the petition, wasn't it, calling for people to oppose the UN Pact on Migration. And you believed it was had been archived, and so you said that, and then you said that it had been taken down by an emotional staffer. So which was it?
Well, at all times, I've only been interviewed really on it substantively once. I've stated what I believe to be the case.
So did someone?
And-
How did that? Get?
Well, I don't want to get into that because
Well.
no, I can be very clear to you, Guyon. I mean, there's employment laws. There's a parliamentary services that deals with these things.
So where has it ended up
and
now?
I can't do that.
You got a legal case on your hands now, then, do you?
Well, I'm not going to comment on any of those aspects. I don't involve myself in them. But I would say this: I don't resile from our position on the UN migration.
Well, this is the
pact.
interesting thing. I mean, so you don't resile from it. So why were you so ashamed of it then?
Well, I wasn't.
Why don't you put it back up there then?
And as I've said, I wasn't cited in any way
Why
on these
don't you
things.
put it back up there then?
For this simple reason that what is done. It had done its course anyway. It was I wouldn't even say significant, but certainly an issue at the end of last year. And I happen to know, for example, in the Cabinet, there was very significant disagreement on that issue.
But so you don't resolve from your position on that. You've run into a few problems with your staffing issues in this party, haven't you? You've got an MP who's gone rogue. You've got Maggie Barry having allegations against her in terms of bullying. Now you've talked about this emotional junior staffer. He's hired Linda Clark, by all reports, to fight some legal case against you. It looks a bit messy, doesn't it?
No, I don't know about that. The reality is the National Party has, if you include in and out of Parliament staff, hundreds of staff. I simply don't involve myself in those matters.
Thanks for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Do appreciate it. That's Simon Bridges, who, of course, is the leader of the National Party, leader of the opposition. It's just gone